Welcome to RIG Realty Investors Group. Rick, RIG, call me anything that's late for dinner. Glad you're here. I know we got a lot of first timers here. About the first timers, raise your hand. You love first timers. Sit down right here. We love first timers as much as we love people who's been here with us from the start. We got a few of those people here tonight. We've been helping investors since 2012. The group that owns up for Rick today, basically started a coffee shop way back in 2012. Katie Fleming started the thing in a little coffee shop. We showed up. It was my wife, Katie, Nan Fleming, and two other guys that have since disappeared from the face of the earth. And boy, are they missing out. But here we are, RIG. Now, how many first time frolic? Oh, only a couple. Okay. Well, if you don't know it by now, there's a little red thing and green thing. Red means don't bother me, and they will not bother you if it's red. If you're hungry or thirsty, you want to turn that up to green. And our waitresses will come through here quite often. We found out the very first meeting we didn't talk about that. And like 3/4 in the meeting, everybody's hungry and thirsty. What's going on? Tonight, you've already done the informal networking. I'm going to I like to speed read through these network announcements, get through them so we can have our speaker up, have plenty of time. Everybody start practicing now. You're all going to have 30 seconds to go. I am, I do, I need, I've got to offer, and my phone number is. Everybody gets a chance. Even husbands and wives, both people get a chance. We're going to have OMGs. That slide might not be there, but I'll remember to do it. That's, oh my goodness, you won't believe what happened to the speaker. Oh my goodness, you won't believe what happened. We learn from the bad ones probably more than we do from the good ones. And 7:30, we're going to have sober home investing. Who's heard of Oxford House? Who's heard of sober home investing? You're in for a good treat tonight. We had a clubhouse chat with Vince, probably about 6 months ago now in Clubhouse, and he talked about it, and we're all like going, wow, 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 wow. Several people's like, I'm going to change my whole business model. And I have a goal personally this year of actually being involved in an Oxford House. And thanks to that beautiful young lady back there, I got a piece of the pie. We'll let her talk about that. And then we're going to do some Q&A. This is a brewery. They stay open late. They usually don't kick us out here at about 10:30. And you know what? The parking lot's great for networking too. So I don't have to work in the today. Due diligence. You may hear some people say, you know, you need to talk to Joe because Joe just walks on water, or you need to get this deal I'm putting. Don't believe anything at face value. It's up to you to do your own due diligence. Ask about Joe. Denver is a small village when it comes to real estate investing. Trust me, word gets around when somebody's bad. I wish it would get around half as fast as when somebody does look really good. But guess what? You come to groups like this to find out who the good people are. So do your own due diligence. We're all over the social media, all over the internet. We were on Meetup for a while. We got off, and we're back. So there's all our groups. But you only really have to remember one address. That's realtyinvestorgroup.org. Everything is on our website. And here's something that's, I don't think it's on our website. Who knows Clubhouse? Good, bad, ugly? What do you think? But they're not talking. I'll vote. That is an awesome resource for networking. It's an awesome awesome resource for getting education. It's free. You jump on there. The good thing about that, it's only audio. You can be in your early morning clothes or your late night clothes. Nobody will know. Phil Flatney in Missouri, we're on a lot of the same groups. If it's early morning, she goes, I'm still in bed. I'm like, yeah, me too. And Rick hosts a meeting each Wednesday night, very late for those on the East Coast. She goes, I'm in bed again. I'm gonna be with you as long as I can last. The Clubhouse is a great resource there. We've got 3 levels of membership, as most of you know now. First time guests are free. We'd love for you to come. We'd love for you to invite friends. If you come and you go, man, you know, I got something out of that. That's kind of halfway decent crew. I want to join. There's 2 free ways to join. Brent can sign up by himself for $100 a year. If Brent and this young man, Paul, says, hey, you know, we're doing business together, we're a significant, not do that. or a significant other, or husband and wife, business partner. Y'all can join under the big partnership, save a little bit of money. If you're a business, you can pay $250. You get to promote on our website and our Facebook, your deals, your services, and then once a month we pick one out. We ask them to come on up front here, and tonight is no different. Tonight is Mr. I Trip Vacation. Come on up, brother.
So I'm property manager. We deal with short-term rentals. We're a franchise. There's actually 13 of us in Colorado, 160 of us across country, mostly in the southeast United States. As I got this presentation going, I was thinking about who I was presenting to. So this is more of a short-term rental 101 for the Denver metro area than it is what about iTrip again. Okay. I think you guys are probably involved in short-term rentals. You probably know how hard it is. And I'm here when you need me. I'm here when the cleaner quits and never tells you she quits. I'm here when the handyman puts you in last on the list. I'm here when the plow guy doesn't show up. And then you realize you have to shovel the driveway and the walkway because your handyman doesn't show up. I'm the guy when the toilet starts to leak because the ring starts to disintegrate, all the water coming out, and the guest calls. And that guest is a bride. And then you're talking to her dad. And then the phone gets taken away, and then you're talking to her mom. Okay? That's when you guys want to call us. All right. So we're going to go through about infrastructure, we're going to go through about regulation, we're going to go through about opportunity, we're going to go through about pricing dynamics, and this exciting market. Denver is one of the best markets in the country. There are 3 markets in the country they call them the IT markets. It's Austin, Portland, and Denver. Okay. So, and then believe it or not, when I was doing some research last night, putting the market facts, Englewood is the #2 short-term rental market in the country. Believe that. Yeah. The average sale is about $359,000 with occupancy and average daily rate. The monthly return after all fees and expenses is about 8%. So the #1 was a small town in New Jersey. So. So this, what's short-term rental? It's from 1 to 29 days. Anything beyond 29 days, that's a long-term rental according to the IRS. Home can be a single room, a portion of a home, or a whole home. We handle only single units. So we have a single unit that could be a basement garage, but I tell my clients that, basement apartment, that the guests have to come and go without us. All right, they have to have their own entry, they have to have their own bathroom, they have their own kitchen. That's what we do. Okay. So we deal with ADUs, and then we have mansions, 7,000-foot mansions, 7 bedrooms in Evergreen. You must have. We're going to go over furnishings and amenities really fast. Cleaning fees and taxes. We're going to go over the transaction. Utilities and maintenance paid for by the owner. Short-term rental offers the homeowner a strong revenue stream. After each stay, the home is inspected. Okay, so I don't think long-term renters or managers, but every time someone leaves one of our homes, we've trained our people to walk in there. They hear something funny, they see something funny, they take lots of pictures, they call us, we go down there, we get it fixed. Okay. And the owner can use the home, which is really good. All right. With iTrip, you're allowed to have your owner's portal. Right. So you see the revenue coming in, you see the rates that we're getting, and you can see you have access to the calendar. And there you can actually block dates to use your home. Here's the facts. The number of short-term rentals located in the city of Denver have recovered from pre-pandemic levels. All right. It's not many, it's 2,300. Denver has some of the hardest or most strict short-term rental laws in the country. But you still can do it. Our fastest growing market right now is a tie. It's Copeland County, the city of Denver. We've picked up a lot of homes in the city of Denver right now. And they're all permitted and they're all legal and they're making a lot of money. Okay. Just to put it in perspective, in 2015, before they had these regulations in there were 16,000 short-term rentals in Denver. And today it is about 2,400. But the demand has never gone away. In fact, it's increased. So if you have a permitted home in Denver, you got yourself a little gold mine. And there's that Englewood is listed number 2 best STR market in the country. That was pretty cool. So if you guys know what arbitrage is for the short-term rental?
Sure do.
Denver is actually wants people to do. And let me just see, I saw someone shaking their head. So basically, you rent a condo, all right? You don't own the condo, but you rent it. And then you actually list it as a short-term rental. And you run it as a short-term rental like it's your home. So then you're actually arbitraging the monthly rent against the expected revenue for short-term rent. So in Denver, you can do that, but it has to be your primary residence. You have to say, this is my home. And I've seen a few people do it. A lot of people in the airline industry do it. A lot of people in the consulting industry do it. They don't own the home, they're renting it, right? But while they're going away for weeks at a time, they then post it on the platforms and get it rented, all right? It's actually pretty cool. I mean, I have yet to see anyone who's paying for anything when they arbitrage. Right? Arbitrage in this part of the country is very good. Right? I have a partner, property manager. He's arbitraging 3 homes in Conifer on 285, and they're doing very well. All right. Jefferson County is actually close to issuing new short-term rental laws. Right now, Jefferson County is open. There is no regulations. All right, they have antiquated regulations on the book, but as of October 2019, the county commissioners said that we're not going to follow them and we're not going to enforce them. Then it comes to the marketplace. So Summit County and Eagle County, their season starts January 1st and their season ends March 17th. That's it. All right. Where Denver is 12 months. So you don't get the huge rates. The average, so the I-Trip franchise in Vail, its average daily rate is $3,750 a night.
A night?
A night. He does $8 million worth of business in 6 weeks. Right? But then he pretty much shuts down, and then he has to take care of the homes, and then he has to do other things. Right? Our market here is more level. Right? So it's a bell curve. It starts in January, it goes up to July and August, it comes back down. Your money months are May, June, July, and August, but you will always get bookings on the weekends in this market. Okay, that's Boulder County, that's Jeffco, that's Denver, that's Adams, that's Clear Creek, and that's Gilson. So COVID's over, and people are more relaxed, so they're actually opening up their homes now. So more properties are coming on market. Okay, and travel is only growing slightly. To put it in perspective, you know, it depends what you read. In Denver, the amount of homes that have has grown by 20% in the last 12 months available short-term rentals. Well, travel has only gone up 5%. You know, that's a bit of a misnomer because the demand is so great. You could add another 40% and still not even make a dent on it. Okay, that's how much how demand is. But you actually have to make sure your properties have the correct amenities. Right? It's no longer you can just have like a bare bones basement apartment and someone's going to rent it. It's not. You have to have the parking. You have to have the updates. You have to have the appliances. You have to have the comfortable couches. And we'll go over that in a minute. All right. And then average daily rates aren't growing. They're actually holding or declining. Okay. So you actually want to make sure you have those amenities. You want to make sure you have the right photography. You don't want to use iPad or an iPhone. You want to use a special photographer who knows how to handle a short-term rental. And you want that posting to be really good so you get your bookings. Okay. To put this in perspective too about in 2020 or 2019 before COVID, our booking window was about 120 days. And the booking window is when someone books the property to when they check in. So it was about 4 months, right? Today, that's less than 22 days. All right. So back then we could fool around with pricing. We could do updates. We could listen to the reviews and everything. None of that works today. Okay. So we don't even know what to do with our pricing because if we lower it, we lose opportunity. But if we don't lower it, we're going to lose occupancy. It's been a challenge. What you need for a successful program. First, you want to actually define your opportunity. So for all my prospective clients and all my existing clients who are looking at properties, I will run a pro forma and tell you what your first and second year expected revenue will be. Right? I rely heavily on key data and I rely heavily on AirDNA. And I use a lot of comps and I use a lot of history. But our accuracy is well above 90%. You got to have infrastructure. I talked about there's 2 things. There's 2 people that run your short-term rental. It's your cleaner and it's your handyman, all right? You have to actually get everything.
Where's
for the next check-in,
Tyndall
and obviously
Drive
it has to be clean. all right?
Here?
in
You want to
Valdosta?
have those folks as close to home as possible. You don't want them to drive. It's
Tyndall.
gonna be snow, there's gonna be accidents, you know what?
Apparently that's where they
It's
found
like
a
The
house.
guest always makes it.
Colleen
Right.
posted on there,
The
we
cleaner may
found a
not, but the guest
house.
will.
Question
Right. You
though,
wanna
anyone
have
familiar
that
with the
person.
Tyndall Drive area in
You're gonna
Valdosta?
develop a marketing plan. And that marketing plan includes professional photography. I can pick up listings that people use iPhones. They look.
Tyndall
We use professional
Drive
photography,
area.
and we spend the money.
The
And
what?
whatever, there's also another, I'm gonna talk about rules too.
Tyndall.
Another rule is whatever dollar you put into your
DALL.
short-term rental, you're gonna get 3 back. I want you to think about that, no multiplication. Every dollar you put in, you put 3 back. You're gonna get 3 back. So don't cut the corners. I coach my folks, don't cut the corners. So for our photography, you know, if you're selling your house, your photography is about $250, my photography is $600, right? If I have a beautiful home on Snowshoe up in Evergreen, it cost me $1,400. I got the photography, I got the Matterport, I got the drone, right? But I'm also getting $823.
There's a fantasy club here.
That has to
Where's
be
that?
perfect, because people as far away as, you know, Europe and Africa are looking at that home. It's gotta be perfect. You know, you want to, also, you don't want to just list it on Airbnb. I took over a home over on, a Woodchuck or some road in Evergreen. It was self-managed. He did $101,000 just on Airbnb. Last year, he did 165. Because we
That's
did
that
multiple
little road that goes
platforms.
up.
So we have 8 platforms. We have some you never heard of, Blue Tents, Marriott Home and Villas. I mean, small, tiny ones. Most of our bookings come from Airbnb and Vrbo, but about a good 20%, it's growing, are coming from these smaller platforms. Right? You want to do a multi-platform marketing plan, and if you guys ever check out a website called Guest, they actually allow people with 1 to 3 homes get that multi-platform ability. Right? You want to utilize a dynamic pricing system, right? You want to have the algorithm, right? You want to put in your base rates. Right now we run our years off of about 19 seasons. So we start with the 12 months, and then we divide it up into holidays, and then we divide it into special events. You know, you got wedding season, you got graduation, you have the festivals. You know, a good example, I was thinking about it, Netherlands just stopped doing it this year, but you know, the Dead Man Festival, right? We have properties around Netherlands and Wonderview. I would literally double the rates. It was 300, it was 600 for that weekend. Right? So you want to make sure you define your season, have your base rates, and then you let the algorithm take over. What the algorithm does, it actually looks at the whole market. I don't want to get all nerdy. It takes a look at the whole market, all right, as one level, and then you want to actually have certain comps attached to your property. So they're watching those homes specifically. So if you have a 4-bedroom in Wonderview, right, you want to put about 6 or 7 4-bedrooms around Wonderview also attached to your home in our system. We can do that by we copy and paste the Vrbo number. We dump it into our comp set, all right, and it follows their pricing and follows their occupancy. So that's your second level. And your third level is your actual home. Okay, is it getting booked and you have the right price? From there, the algorithm kind of spits out the correct price. But you definitely want to use a dynamic pricing system. I see a lot of self-managed people. They'll have the same price in January at the same price on July 4th. That is a huge waste of hours. You don't want to do that. Okay? And then you want to offer a guest program that includes multiple services. First of all, you have to take care of the house. So you want to make sure that when something happens, there's an ability to be taken care of. And that is infrastructure. You've got to have the handyman, you have to have the snow plow, you may have to have the ability to get to medical quickly. You have to have that on the table. You have to have that on the refrigerator. You know, you want to make sure they have services. Then you get into these value add services. So we partnered with the Ride in Evergreen. So a lot of people come to Red Rocks, they stay in West Gold and stay in Evergreen. If they stay around just in the west part of 470, well, they can't get to the concert, right? So we send out an email, hey, if you're going to Red Rocks, call the Ride. Make sure you call Earth, right? We also have a couple of caterers, right? We'll actually have their menus sent to our guests. right? So if you want packaged dinners, right, you don't want to cook, right? You just call these folks and then they'll have a code to get into the house and they'll load up your refrigerator. All right, so these added amenities actually will get you the book, okay? And it doesn't cost you anything. All right, you can actually even take a cut if you want, so I don't, but if you want to talk to some of your subcontractors, I want 10%, you could do something like that, okay? And then you want to manage all financial transactions. I just was talking to someone in the back room. I made the serious mistake of canning my CPA a few months ago and thought I was going to do it myself. I have screwed everything up. I have a lot of work in the next few weeks to get myself out of some hot water, and it could have been solved by just having a simple bookkeeper. Have a bookkeeper.
That's what it's gonna be.
Have them track the taxes. All right, whatever it is, $250 a month. It's well worth it.
You know where that old high school is?
And then this is one.
That one's got looks like a damn little tower parking lot
right
behind it.
So about 11 months after a person's stay, they get an email from me saying, "Hey, don't you miss that home? Don't you miss hanging out in the Rockies? You want to look at that, rebook it." Right? And those people we rebook. People are habits. They don't want to go look for another one. We have no place, right? Tap into that. So what makes profitable short-term rental? I can have a good program. What makes a good profitable short-term rental? I'll tell you what it is. I already mentioned the more amenities you have, the more things. That
She got on there now, major clean out. All items will be listed in the comments up
That's
until
that
Friday
home
and
on
must
snowshoe.
be picked up
But if you
Saturday.
look at it right now,
Elaine.
it's just gorgeous, right? I mean, right now, that's probably, by the end of this year, that's probably gonna be one of the most profitable short-term rentals in the area right now. We just took a booking from June 30th to July 4th at $2,300 a night. They bought it for $1.5 million. Their first month in opening, I sent them $11,000. And so they're well ahead of their curve. All right, but look what they did. They got the gourmet kitchen, they got the furniture, they got the beautiful views, right? But what else do they have? They have space, right? It's not cluttered, right? That's a very clean looking place. Right? Most importantly, they have natural light. The importance of natural light for a short-term rental is key. If you have a dark place, I would suggest you put one of those two light skylights in the roof. Easy, cheap to do. It opens up a whole different view of your home. A lot of natural light. Okay. You can see all the comforts. It's one of the cooler amenities. That's a theater room in the same house. There's about 20 seats. The best amenity right there is the popcorn maker. That's what an actual.
Dove to a fantasy club. Bed and breakfast.
What?
I hate to be the cleaner though.
A fantasy club bed and
Kids in
breakfast?
there when we go in there afterwards.
I didn't know we even had that.
Seeds a cup with soda.
How did you not know?
I was thinking I'm gonna have two separate cleaning fees. If you use a theater room, it's
Yep, that
$600.
looks like where I need to be going.
Oh, shit.
It's so messy. Right? But you can see how that one picture, that's in the first 5 pictures, by the way, of your listing are the most important. We have that in the first 5 pictures.
Ridge.
First 5 pictures. Okay.
Well,
This one is a
that's
cabin
their
out
new
in front of you.
home.
And you can see that it's this rustic western, right? Has some comfortable couches, got the fireplace in the center, it's nice and warm, right? On the upper right, you see the widescreen TV, looking like a tree right now. It has everything.
No,
You know what that thing
it just
doesn't have?
says Indoor
Anything that's
Drive.
new. She completely outfitted with everything was used. Everything, but it's of high quality and all matches. She's hitting it out of the park. My pro forma had like a night in February for like 125. They were
Yeah, that's that high school with the things out in the house in the
great little place.
parking lot.
And
Yeah.
just beyond this window right here, you can see it's
Self-storage at
like a little outside place. And they put
Yeah.
a hot tub. Right, just a 4-person hot tub, a little cheap one. Like probably like $4,000, right? When we talk about, if you guys ever want to know about amenities, please email me and I'll send you the list of amenities. But the number one amenity that people want is strong Wi-Fi. Right? Number 2 is a hot tub. I just think of that. Just a spreadsheet exercise with a hot tub. A hot tub adds $100 a night on the average daily rate.
They're trying to make a bed and breakfast.
We have a home
Huh?
on Skyline Drive.
Little bed and breakfast. I mean,
And
They're doing like the Airbnbs.
It's
It's
probably
$400.
Huh?
You know, 4 bedroom, you can They get
Fantasy
about
Club.
$100 a bedroom. You have like the right amenities.
Oh,
you
no,
have,
not
like,
them.
Cool views.
On
So
here,
let's go
Right.
Perry, you got
Uncle
like
Jimmy and them
$400. and
talking
then Perry's, you
about
got like
how to make
$700.
a good,
His average daily rate went from like
short-term
425
rental,
to 675.
which is Airbnb.
It's a hot second.
Like
I
the
thought
different
it was-
amenities that you can add to make it more profitable.
Here's another one. This is down here on the corner of 11th and Sherman, Poets Road, the old apartment buildings. Okay, but this thing was built in 1908. Still original floors. You see the cabinets looking really cool.
1908.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's also really comfortable with natural
But look
light
how
and
pretty.
the power of natural light. Just makes the place look so cool. Right? And then the piano. People book that to play the piano, and they know what they're doing. They'll text me, "Hey, the piano
They're
needs
talking. I would not trust
you know, I'm like, all right, we gotta have a tune guy over there.
them.
Right? And what's really cool, he got that piano for free. All
Yeah,
the
he
guy
sounds
wanted
like a
was
really
out of his
good
house.
corporate guy.
So think of that, okay? But you can see, again, lots of space, but he has it. Cabinets have everything, you get music over there, you got a place over there. There's, the one drawback about this has no HVAC, so in the summer it gets pretty hot. So we have a couple AC units in the window. But it is what it is. It's right downtown, walking this together. Regulations. There are regulations in every town, right? But you have to know them. I have lost more contracts because people have gotten just so much disinformation. All right, know the rules, obey the rules, but know them. Okay. Boulder is a good example. They came out with all these rules and this big fanfare. They have zero
Me too.
enforcement. Okay. I have 7 homes in Boulder County. My clients aren't even thinking of getting a permit. All right. So we just keep running. The county doesn't do anything. You pay the tax. Okay. But if you want, go on your website or your .org. Right? Definitely don't listen to anybody. Because I've talked to people. This is a great story. I called Georgetown about 5 years ago. And I said, hey, we're gonna start marketing.
She also put on there, I'm tired mentally,
This lady goes,
emotionally,
"Oh,
and physically.
we don't do short-term rentals up here." I said, you don't? Okay. I'm looking at Airbnb, I have about 50 of them on the map, but all right, I'll call back. I called back and I got the right person. They said, oh, this is what you want to do. All right. So it's a lot of motion.
Over there,
Go
he
on the
knocked that
website,
up.
right? Call the city planner.
She done been had all that shit looked out, and
Even the
Tyrone.
Hello?
Because now a lot of communities are getting zoned. All right, if it's a certain zone, you may be able to do it. It's a certain zone, you may not be able to. Right? What you don't want to do is do it illegally. There's no hiding on the World Wide Web. They're gonna catch you. Right? Insurance is
Oh,
another
I
thing.
thought they
too.
said only
You want to
21.
declare your residence a short-term rental. You want to have a rider and you want to have $1 million worth of coverage. Right? I had a client who wouldn't let us, we vet all our clients' insurance plans. And she's like, oh no, my high school friend did it. I don't have to do it, all this stuff. Well, we
And
had
that's
an
not really
Orange
living
County
anymore.
sheriff there, and they had an extra wide door and a short stoop, and the sheriff went right out and broke a leg. And they came after us, and we went to the owner, like, this is your house, they call the insurance person. They weren't covered. They were in a lot of trouble. What came in was
That just makes it harder.
Verbo had host insurance and it covered it. They were extremely lucky. So, and then most important, their insurance person belonged to, I think, like Farmers. Farmers is really good, really good with but Safeco and Farmers are probably the easiest to get short-term rental insurance. But the agent has to know,
I bet.
right? A lot of the agents don't. So if your agent has, stumbling and bubbling, call me. I have some great contacts. All farmers guys. Here's a transaction.
Yeah.
I just want to talk to you guys about the cost. So the guest pays the rent. They pay the cleaning. They pay a processing fee, credit card fee, limited damage waiver, and all the taxes. All right. So that's not on you.
That's one thing that
on
has
the
to
guest,
fill itself.
right? What the owner pays is the upkeep of the home. The roof leaks, the owner fixes, right? Other than that, pretty much the guest pays for everything. Right? Here's a little gift for you
I
guys
understand
too.
that's gonna be hard on them.
That is from one of our homes up in Georgetown. Right? It holds 8 people. say today's Tuesday, you wanna go away on Thursday? You see that house is empty? You contact me.
Is that what it was?
Okay. I'll say, okay, I'm gonna take 20% off of that. Is there anything else? You do? Yeah, I'm gonna take $25 off the print. Is there anything else? Yeah, I'm gonna take the processing fee down. Right? It's about $195 on one phone call or one email. Right? Negotiate, right? I'll take it because I'll take that occupancy. Right? Because I'll still get the rent.
Slowly cut my lawyer.
It's better than sitting empty. Don't push it too far. You know, I was just talking to somebody, I have a home in Arvada, and they wanted to rent it for 75 days. I took it from mid-August to the end of
I'll
October.
just keep me updated.
Like the end of the peak season, into the slow season, so I went
I
really
said, just
aggressive.
keep me updated, let me know.
45% off the average daily rate. They go, we want 60.
Oh, yeah, I love you.
I have not, thank you, I can't.
All right.
And after I hung up the phone, I had this little indicator in my system, and I will never rent to them. Right, because you don't want those people. You don't pay them. And that is it. You guys have any questions?
My friend's like, he's in CIA and he's gone for like 3 months at a time and then back for like 2 months, then gone like 2 months, and I was just wondering if you'd be interested.
I would do that, yeah, I have a client.
But he's gone for like. he
Yeah,
does this
yeah,
for
I
years.
have a client that's doing exactly that, he works for the National Weather.
Okay.
So he's up in Mount Hood right now, for
Yeah,
90 days, and he's gonna come back down and he's gonna go somewhere else. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have one other question. You find most of your clientele or business clientele or personal? I mean, it seems like what you're talking is more of a business
Yeah,
clientele that's coming in to do a.
oh, I guess,
Yeah, your guess.
oh, both, it depends. So this is why you should go multi-platform. The platforms have now developed into almost separate demographics. So the Airbnb user is single from the age of 18 to 30, right? VRBO is families and retirees. And retirees are the fastest growing segment of short-term rental. So you definitely want to have that, all right? I do get a lot of requests for 90-day stays, 75-day stays. The people who are, post-COVID, now they're all virtual. They want to travel. They want to hang out in Denver or the mountains, and they contact us. And depends on the house. We got to do. Yeah. Also depends on what time of year too. The shoulder season was October to March. We're more apt to offer those deals. May through August, September. You don't offer.
Okay, we put this warning up every month and it's true, have you heard this before? If you hang out with successful people, they will brainwash you and believe in yourself and thinking you can achieve anything. A friend of ours, Mr. Joe Streets, he has a saying, if you hang out with 6 of the smartest people in a room, you'll become the 7th. If you hang around with a bunch of boneheads in the room, guess what? Become the 7th. So you're gonna surround yourself by successful people. And if you look around, this room is full of successful people. And we're going to give everybody a chance to say, I am, I do, I need. And that's what we're going to do. If we can hold it down to 30 seconds, sometimes that's kind of hard, but we're going to start here with Mr. Ross Hare to show you how to do it.
Yes. Hi, my name is Ross Hare. Like I have none. I say that every time. So that when you see my name on screen, it's not the hairdresser, it's me. I'm a real estate broker, investor in Boulder County. So if you have anything in Boulder County, I love that market, and I'm always open to chat. So Ross 303-803-3242.
Yeah, I almost missed. JH always sneaks in the lap. He tries to get away with it. Go ahead, JH.
JH Bridge, I specialize, I guess, in land surveying. We don't necessarily do residential, but if you have questions related to land surveying, measurements, I do 3D scanning and drones for the company. So I've got I play in that space. And I'm like, gentleman up front, can't remember his name. I just like having conversations about real estate. 720-383-4343.
Like Colorado or
For
land?
surveying.
Yeah. That's Colorado. Yeah.
Laws are specific in different states. That being said, the basics are the same. So you had something out of state and you just wanted a second set of eyes.
He doesn't talk about it much, but him and I also do a little something. We do a little private lending, like Pine or Phoenix will say, here's this big bag of money, and we use that kind of come in behind, do private lending, like we'll fill the gap, we'll help you out. And him and I are starting a new fund. And so later, once we get the wheels rolling and stuff, if you, anybody, I didn't plan on doing this, but if you're interested, if you have some private funds you'd like to invest in the fund, we'll talk about it upcoming meetings. It's called, you can Google tribebest.com and say private lending club. We're not a fund. We don't have to do all the SEC crap, thank God. But it's a private club. Everybody gets a member. Every member gets a vote, but you pool your money and we're going to come like behind time. So he's going to do maybe 70%. Maybe we'll fill in some of the rehab money. So, didn't plan on that advertising. Yeah, go fun.
You guys are taking second?
We would be in the second position because usually your hard money or your bank would be first. And we'll come in. Usually what we do is people go, I got it, I got started. We opened this wall, tore the sheetrock down and went, oh, wow. My budget went higher. I need a little bit of money to get through the project, and that's where we come in. But as our fund grows, we may do a little bit big piece of the pie. Still, our Pine and our guys are going to be the number one choice.
And the juice run is 5 points a week, is it?
What's the big? We'll have Guido take you out back and talk to you later. We're gonna go through a quick some training.
Hey, Jim, I do have an ask to bring up. I have a friend who owns a construction company. He's looking to connect with architects. So if you guys have some good architects you now want to trust, come see me and I'll write them down. Sure. Residential or commercial? Both. Yeah, it could be residential, commercial, or somebody who spans both areas.
All right. I see a hand hit me.
I have an app too that I totally forgot about. I have a property up in Lovelands that potentially looking to off-road that would be used for AstroTurf. So keep that in mind if you're interested in investing after the today.
We're gonna do some training. Some of our members have this Katie Fleming. Like I say, she started Inc. way back in the day, 2012. That's how this group got started. During COVID, stuff went crazy and all kinds of stuff. She decided to follow her passions and do what her heart is, and that's mastermind groups. She has mastermind groups starting off throughout the year. If you're interested in it, give her an email or give her a call or an email. She will interview you. You'll get to interview her. She wants to make sure you're a match for her and you're a match. She's a match for you and you're a match for her. There we go. John Fisher Breakfast Club. I would mention that, what, 4 times already? You just missed it. It was last Saturday. Guess what? We were so happy. We had 85 people in there and we had a good talk. And one highlight of that I've got wrote down here, laws. How many people have heard about some new laws coming out of the state? How many people own rentals? How many people think they want to own rentals? You better go to our website, our Facebook group. There's a link where if you didn't get my last newsletter, you need to get the newsletter. Find out who your legislature is and say no, say no, say no, say no, say no. They've got some crazy laws coming down. And guess what? It's a totally blue state capital. They can do almost anything they want, unless they hear from you. Your voice matters.
I emailed about 20 representatives, like it was after the John Fisher Breakfast Club, and I heard back from a couple of them. But yeah, I took your advice and I emailed people.
You need to make your voice heard.
That went pretty well.
Trust me, I've seen the picture.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people standing on Capitol going free rent, free rent.
You're gonna get taken advantage of.
Yeah, they're not, they don't own rentals and they're not.
Bruce.
On your website, it said find your legislators. I did that. I emailed it 2 that came up. Am I supposed to do something in addition to that or what?
Well, you can do your representative. If you got my newsletter, there's a button for each new law. You can go in it and find out who's sponsoring it and you can contact them directly. But you need to be heard, folks, because I've heard people that aren't even landlords going, damn, that's nasty. And you know what's going to happen? They're what they're trying to do, prevent high rents. But guess what's going to happen?
High rents.
The word in the wind is all the people that own rentals are selling them. Who's gonna buy them? Not new landlords, mom and pop and the kids. So guess what? The number of rentals are gonna do what? Go down. So the demand's gonna go up. So what's gonna go up with it? Prices. Their little magic trick's gonna backfire. You need to be heard. I didn't mean walking around, but Tim did Saturday morning. He's like, we gotta talk about this stuff. I think he was using different words. If you miss Saturday, it's the second Saturday of the month, it's $25, but you get a breakfast buffet. The networking is off the hook. Tim says usually, I think it was 20 deals done last week in the room during breakfast. People network, and they get stuff done. And again, thank you, Vince, for everything you did. And if you haven't heard, you've been under a rock somewhere. I took over from Vince in Invest Success, and we do front range investing mentorship. We have you buy any fund, flip, fix, and flip and field or rent. We'll just go through these real quick. Got 40 years of investing. 93% of our students do a deal in their first year. 36 average profit. Now we've kind of moved up. We want you to make about 40,000 on the profit. So now I got to do that. 93% of the students do a deal in their first year. We had 4 guys join in December. By January, they had houses on the contract. We're holding our classes in their houses. We're going through rehab. We've had 2 other people. We've had 2 more contracts. Good at. This is my newest student right here.
It's awesome, guys. It really is.
And another plug, for because we've got this working relationship with Pine Financial, and Pine has agreed that for Invest Success students, they get a special discount rate because we're working together. And they know that students coming from us are not out there by themselves, but they got like guidance and supervision. So I won't go through these, but the key thing there, by the time you finish your course, I like that bottom bullet. You will have completed a project and be able to tell your story to others. And one of our guys in our group that started in January, or December, we were in his house last night. He not only has he got in and pulled the trigger on one house, he's got a contract on the house down the street. So Jessica Jones just joined us as part of the team. And she was on that house property tour where once a Saturday, we go out and tour houses. We spend about a 2-hour class teaching you how to do the numbers and going through everything. We all agree on the ARV. We all agree on the rehab costs. Then we get the next house. It's like, you got 15 minutes, go. And then we come back and do that. The last Saturday, we visited 2 houses, and before the sun went down, 2 contracts were written. And Jessica was like, oh my God, you guys move fast. It's like, yeah, we do. Our job is to make our students successful. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to point out. We want to pull the trigger and go. And I'm looking at this. I can't say enough. A lot of the stuff that we're teaching, a lot of stuff you put in there. Thank you. And that's it. And we hold classes every other Monday at 7 p.m. You can attend the first class for free. It's an actual class. You don't get a trial version. You come in and see everything the students are getting. You get to hear what students are saying and going through. And you be a part of our network. And I think we've heard enough about money. I'll just say I do some. There's some flyers. We'll move on. And that's me too. That's unsecured line of credit. That's available. Finally, I get to sit down and eat my cold. Mr. Moriah, if you would come up. Miss Nicole, I don't know what else we can call you. Nicole. And Mr. Vince. Like I say, a few months ago, Vince came on to our clubhouse chat, and we had a presentation about sober home in the Oxford House, and just the questions that came through. And a lot of people, like at the end of the talk, they're like, "Oh my God, I got to get into this." And that's the first I had really heard about it. Like, I'm gonna get into it too. And now I have, thanks to Nicole. Mr. Moriah is with Oxford House. Vince is a homeowner, and Nicole is a brand new homeowner. Working on it.
Yeah.
So he's going to talk about Oxford House, and then you guys can pass that.
My name is Moriah Cunningham. Depending on where I'm at, I introduce myself differently, right? When I go to an AA meeting, I say I'm an addict. When I go to an AA meeting, I mention that I'm an alcoholic. And when I go to Celebrate Recovery, I say I'm a firm believer in Jesus Christ, and I struggle with whatever it happens to be that week that I identify as my struggle. Because that's what's true about me. is I'm an alcoholic. That was easy to recognize, right? I binge drink, you know, I don't stop until I have to stop. But it was the marijuana that was hard to recognize. It was time for me to quit, and so I leaned on Oxford House, because I had some friends that were living in Oxford houses. And in an Oxford house, if I use, I'm out. But I get this beautiful home to live in, I get the structure that Oxford House has to offer, and I get 6, 7 brothers that I didn't have before. And so today, I'm over a year clean. On the 26th of February, I celebrated a year. So Oxford House is, like I said, it's my home. I've started working at Oxford House October 1st of this last year. So I'm pretty brand new to the outreach position. As outreach, my primary goal is to be a liaison between people like these guys here and the members in the houses, and to help empower the members to be able to run their houses proper. So let's see what's got set up here on this slide. So it's peer run, self-supporting, substance-free housing. It's really cool. So we're completely democratically rigged. Every single house is full of people like myself, people that are in recovery, that are needing to have the support and structure that Oxford House offers. There's no house manager. It's different than a lot of sober livings in that way. It's really empowering for members. The other thing that's very significant is that we are self-supported, right? We want to be quality members of society. We want to see our houses be successful in the neighborhoods that they're in, be paying their landlords on time. We have the 3 core principles, as I was mentioning. So we have the charter requirements that each Oxford House has to have. They have to be democratically ran, right? We have to make decisions as a house. Sometimes the decision I want to make doesn't get made because the democracy made a different decision. And I get to accept that. I'm thankful for that, because my best decisions got me into an NA meeting. My best decisions got me addicted. So I now lean on the support of others instead. We are financially self-supporting. Every member pays their own way. We expect that after 30 days, you're employed. After 60 days, you're paying your own way instead of relying on a government organization or anything of that sort. And after 90 days, you're completely caught up and you stay caught up. If that's not available to a member, then they're probably not Oxford House material. And sadly, they'll need to go figure out what's the next step for them, is whether that's a rehab center, whether that's unfortunately more time in the addiction, because this thing is a disease and it will take people out. But sometimes they come in and they struggle to get that job after the first 30 days. They start paying their own way after this first 60 days. After 90 days, they're caught up and they fight to stay caught up, and they realize this is a little bit better than they thought it was going to be. And they get to be in long-term recovery. So that's exciting. We also, of course, have to expel people as soon as they begin using. If any relapse, you know, if a member comes to me and tells me, hey man, I took a drink, but I'm not going to do it again. Unfortunately, that means that person needs to move out. They can go to detox, they can go to reevaluate their treatment program and reapply potentially. All of the houses are, of course, gender specific. We've tried men and women houses before. It just doesn't work out with the Oxford model. So we have men houses, we have women houses, and we have men and children and women and children houses. So if there are parents, which there are a lot of parents that need a place to be so they can work their recovery, that child's going through recovery too. They now get to be around people that are also like them. Have to have 6 beds in the house. We need it to be a financially stable house, right? Especially with the market that we're at now. Anything below 6 just doesn't work, and it doesn't work with the Oxford structure. Everybody has a position in the house. So whether you're the treasurer, the president, the comptroller keeps track of what money comes in, the treasurer keeps track of what money goes out, right? There's 6 positions in the house. We want to have 1 person in each position. We started in 1975. One house is really interesting story, right? So the halfway house in town was going to close down. And so the alcoholics in the house said, what are we going to do? We watched people move out of the halfway house after 6 months, and 2 months later they're drinking. And I don't want that for my life. So they decided that something needed to change. They happened to know the owner of that house, and they figured, why don't we rent it together? But a house manager costs too much, and a house cook costs too much, and a house therapist costs too much. But I remember this frat house, they used to do it just them. Maybe we can do it just us. And somehow, some way it worked. And now there are over 3,000 houses, 3,300 houses in the United States, started in Silver Springs, Maryland. There we go, 3,300 plus houses. So that means 26,000 people are available to be able to be in a bed. They don't have to be on the streets. They don't have to be struggling to figure out what it's like to go back home to where they used to use, where everybody else uses, and try to white knuckle it until they're finally sober. It's not gonna happen. I wouldn't be able to do it if I were living in the same spot I was living before. Fortunately, I have Oxford House. So it's amazing that we have that many, 47 states, 5 different countries. Expanding even still. Yeah, it's amazing, right? No one leaves without a cause. Once you move into Oxford House, you're allowed to stay permanently. That was one of the things that the founding members set up. Because 6 months later, you move out of the halfway house, you end up returning back to use. So if you need Oxford House, if you feel like Oxford House is your home, as long as you don't return to use, as long as you pay your way, you follow the house rules, you can stay there for eternity. Colorado state chair says you're gonna take my dead body out of this house. I love it here. Said, okay, well, maybe go to the hospital and die, but whatever. Again, men and women, women and children, men and children. It's a picture of a house there in the Longmont area. We typically pick nice neighborhoods, right? Nice houses. It's quite a benefit to come out of addiction. You know, the boarded house down the street, yeah, that's where I stay at every once in a while. But now I get to live in beautiful houses. Some of the nicest houses in Pueblo are the houses that we have rented out in Oxford houses in nice neighborhoods, right? Because we can't recover in the crack alley. It just doesn't work. Like I just said, you can't go back to the house where you were using, and you can't go where there's 5 houses down the street, you know, you can pick up that. So instead, we go to nice neighborhoods and we become great neighbors because we all have responsibility. We all have people that take care that we have to be held accountable to. Long-term leases, it really works well to have a 3-year lease to start out with, 5-year lease as we go on, to create a relationship with investors so that we can have this going for a long term. We need the structure, right? A couple other things required, right? We do want it to be able to support the members. We want them to be close to meetings, close to public transportation. To be a member, let's see, you need to make sure that you are indeed someone who is withdrawal-free sobriety, in withdrawal-free sobriety. Typically, we like to see people that have come fresh out of a treatment program, things like that. We're not necessarily looking, we're not a detox center. So we're not going to be putting people in that are fresh, 1 day clean from using whatever their drug of choice was, because that just doesn't succeed in this sort of self-run, self-sustaining environment. Instead, people that have gone through treatment program, and what's the next step? Come to hospital. People that have been relapsed multiple times because they just can't figure it out, they've gone through treatment, come to Oxford, because we've had a success rate, and we'll get to that here in a second, but we've had a success rate that's right at 95% for the last couple of years. For people that stay for 2 years, about 5% of people leave due to relapse. Otherwise, people stick around, they leave on their own terms. Vacancy website, so if you need to see what your house is at, you can, or if you need somebody that needs a house, if you know somebody that needs Oxford House, go to oxfordvacancies.org. You can fill out an application there. You can see what houses are in your area, how many beds they have available, how many beds total are in the house. It's a great way for investors to be able to check on their investment, right? You call somebody like me, we can talk, that's great. You can also check on here and see, hey, wow, my house has 4 people, 4 open beds right now. So let me call Moriah. Let me see what's going on with that. Let me see if there's a change happening here soon. Or wow, my house is doing great. We've got all the beds full. Call the house, the president of the house, talk with him anytime. You have to fill out the application. You'll have an interview with the house. If you get an 80% acceptance from the house, you get to move in immediately. No delay period on that.
So the interview has to be face to face.
It is, yes. We do some interviews that are not necessarily face to face over the phone or over Zoom. That is an opportunity, but for the most part, we do prefer to have it face to face because every house member being democratically ran gets a chance to vote on that person and see if they make sense.
Is there an admission process? So if, like, say they are going to other treatment, they might go level there. Is there, being that it is done by design, is there still an admission process normally or no?
Well, so just that interview, and then there's certain periods where we have like a new member's contract, right? Just requirements that they have to keep to be able to remain in the house. It's a little bit stricter right off the bat. When you first come in, strict may not be the right word here, but right off the bat, you're not allowed to have overnights. You need to make sure that you're checking in with the house all the time. Most houses will have you be doing more UAs to really make sure you get situated well into the house. And then as you've got longevity into the house, then you start to get a little bit more freedoms, because that's the goal, right? We're not looking to be a hardcore treatment facility. We're not a treatment facility. We can't be your recovery program. If somebody needs recovery, then they need to fight for their recovery. Go to AA meetings, go to Dharma, go to work out at the gym, whatever that is. We are looking to empower people to find that on their own. And so it's not going to be, the admission program is fairly laxed compared to something like a treatment center. So it's a 250 in Colorado, it's 250 move-in fee, and that is non-refundable. That's not like the deposit that when you move out, it'll come back. That's not the case. And then per house is a different, what we call EES, right? So every member of the house shares the expense of the house. If they have 12 members in the house and they're paying $3,200 for rent plus whatever the bills are, then they'll split that even. If they have 4 members in the house and the same amount, they'll split that evenly. And so it really does encourage members of the house to get more members into the house. Because, yes, sir.
So if it's 6 or 8, does the homeowner get the same money?
Correct. Yes, sir.
So if for example, you get a new person in the first month, they don't have a job, they don't have money. Or if you have people that drop out during the month, does that rent for those people get adjusted? So the rent that's paid to the owner?
Yeah, so if somebody moves in halfway through the month, their rent will be prorated for the amount of time that they're there. Or if they leave early or whatnot, their rent will be prorated. To be frank, we're dealing with addicts here. I'm an addict. It's fortunate that I didn't bounce out early. Sometimes that happens, you know, sometimes people leave us high and dry without the rent that we were expecting from them. I'm sure you guys are familiar with situations like that, right?
I'll chime in a little bit here too. So, as the landlord, my lease is with Oxford House. So I get paid every month, regardless of how full or empty the house is. They're the ones that are filling the houses. They're the ones responsible taking care of the tenant or the members, yeah. The members. So I don't really have to take care of any of that. I just get the check every single month. And I believe there's some other funds, like if it's not quite full, to meet full rent, there's the Oxford is a nonprofit. They have extra funds to kind of compensate to make sure that the landlord always gets paid every single month.
Yeah, thank you for that. Absolutely.
You got a couple questions about homeowners association.
Yeah, sure.
How do you deal with that?
We typically avoid HOAs.
Okay.
We try to avoid HOAs.
Okay, so you're looking at basically
We're looking for single family homes, in good neighborhoods. We don't want to have the constriction that HOA has. Not that we could be able to oblige, but we just try to avoid HOAs.
They have more rights than Joe normal homeowners in the neighborhood. Those are fair housing.
Fair housing, yeah.
They're protected class.
Is that how you get around the no more than 3 unrelated parties?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, we're considered a single family. Because of we're a protected class. And that is somewhere in here. So as he was saying, the landlord will always get paid. Yes.
I was gonna ask, but just to piggyback on that, how much, like, not in my backyard and what stuff do you have to deal with?
Right off the bat, there's some. But very quickly, most neighbors realize that they're the best neighbors they have. It happens very quickly, but usually there's a little bit of the uptake. Right as the house is opening up, you know, we like to go around and say, hey, we're Oxford House, we're gonna be moving in, there's gonna be 7 guys living here. If you need anything, you let us know, we're gonna shovel your walk every day, whatever, you know? And so it balances out very quickly. So
how many of the people usually have cars? Because I can imagine you had 6 cars or 7 cars and
we do try to make sure that the lot is going to be able to accommodate for 7 to 8 cars. it varies, of course. You have a question?
Yeah, when you say 6 beds, is that 6 private bedrooms?
You know, typically we prefer to have 1 or 2 shared bedrooms with two beds in the room for the newer members. You know, to be able to give them that extra level of accountability as they first come in. But then beyond that, yes, we'd like single bedrooms.
And if it's a private room, like an office, but not a closet, is that qualified?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of times we'll rehab a home a little bit and we'll see that there's room for a wall to be built here to add an extra room into a house.
Is there a like square footage to how many rooms or how many beds you can have? One that I'd like to see, or it just depends on the land?
Yeah, I think it is based on the county. So the house itself has its own structure, and then above the house, each house is part of a chapter. And so the chapter has its own structure. Then the chapter is all supported by the state association, which is supported by the World Association. And so there's several levels of accountability here, several levels of structure and support. If, for instance, a house is sitting at a low number of members and they're not able to pay their rent, well, they can petition the chapter to get a loan to be able to support that. Chapter can petition the state to get a loan to support that. It's very rare that that happens, but the first priority is always going to be our landlord. We really like to make it a good investment, right? We enjoy it. Do you feel like it's a good investment?
Yeah, it's really an incredible investment. The numbers are easy. It's your PITI, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Take the lease minus that, and that's your cash flow. They take care of all the utilities. They take care of the house. Every now and then, if there's a major repair that needs to be done, they'll call me up and I'll take care of it. Furnace goes out. There's a plumbing leak or something like that. I'll take care of it. But other than that, I don't hear from them very often. And they're never late with their check. So it's one of the most passive investments I've had in the residential real estate side of things.
If your lease is with Oxford House.
Yeah.
How do you determine the rent?
It is based off of their per bed. There's a certain number based off of what their occupancy they can get. So I usually have Oxford come in before I purchase a property to come take a look at it. Is this going to work for you? What kind of adjustments do I need to make? Like if I need to add bedrooms, how many bedrooms do I need to add? If I need to add extra parking, what does that look like? And then I don't know, wait, what was your question again?
How do you determine the rent? As an owner, you want to make sure that there's some cash flow.
I've got a certain criteria for me as an investor. I had a certain criteria that I was looking for an Oxford house. I was looking for $1,000 a month cash flow. That's just my personal, like, I wouldn't do an Oxford house unless I made at least $1,000 a month net.
Yeah, and that is our goal typically, is about $1,000 for the investor to be able to net above what they're paying on the mortgage or whatever it costs, right? We want a cash flow for the investor because we do understand that every person that's investing in Oxford House gets to have a philanthropy side of this. You get to help out the struggling, recovering addict, and that's amazing. But you also are having a good partnership with us where you are going to make a good investment return on this. Your ROI is going to be great.
So you say $1,000 net, is that including a reserve for replacements and repairs?
For me as an investor, I'll start putting that into the reserve. And then I wouldn't expect any repairs for the first few months. So I'm just keeping that in the bank, building up that reserve until a repair does happen. I mean, it's all in a separate account. I have a separate LLC for my Oxford homes, and it just sits in the bank account whenever I need it. It's there. I've always had enough reserves to take care of the repairs. Plus.
And did you do a long-term lease with Oxford?
Yeah, 3-year lease.
3 year.
Mm-hmm.
Are these then fully furnished?
No, I didn't have to furnish them at all. My second one, there was already couches in the residence that I didn't want to trash or move. So I asked them if they wanted it, they did, so I just left it there. But other than that, I haven't had to supply any of the furniture.
So Oxford House provides the interior decoration, on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They bring in their own stuff and Oxford House provides that.
How long does it take you to evaluate a house?
I mean, so we have a pretty tight model of what we're looking for. So once we find something that seems like it might be a good choice, we can figure it out here pretty quickly. The major process would be just the negotiating with the landlord, make sure that we're gonna be meeting at the right point, if the number of beds that we're gonna have available and the amount that we'd be able to charge per member is going to meet the price that we need.
So my process, I actually heard Vince speak about this on the clubhouse talk that he did. And I love the business model. And so his wife Lavanya was nice enough to give me their contacts in Denver, and she connected me with the location that they wanted, right? So they told me Loveland is where they wanted to be. And so I got hooked up with a male rep and a female rep who already had houses in Loveland, and one wanted to move to Loveland, and we toured 5 houses. So on one Sunday, we toured all 5 houses. They told me what they liked, what they didn't like about each house, and then we finalized our top 2. And I put offers in, but even right there, he could tell me, here's what I need you to do. Here's how we're gonna add 3 bedrooms. And if you add these 3 bedrooms, I'll give you X amount of money. So it was within a half hour that we knew exactly if I followed the things that they were requesting that I would get for rent.
So that's what I was gonna specifically ask Vance was, you went out, you were specifically looking for an Oxford House investment. I mean, it sounds like you.
That's what I was, yes.
So, yeah. But
I had already gone through the process, so I know what they're looking for. So at this point, I can, like, Ivania will just sit there and she'll be scoping the MLS, and be like, this would be great Oxford House. The numbers look good. We should go take a look at it. And then if it looks good, we'll get it under contract and get Oxford out there as soon as possible. Yeah, no worries. So I'm looking for usually 2,000 square feet is the minimum. My first house is about 2,000 square feet. I was able to get 5 bedrooms in there, once a double occupancy, so that meets their 6 criteria. My other one's 4,000 square feet. It's for moms and kids. So that one gets a lot more rent every single month, obviously, because of the size. There's 10 bedrooms in that one. I just happened to stumble on that one, and it was a great deal, but.
Is that how many people you can fit in the year? So we're looking at gold, or
Yeah.
like doubling the fund, right? So that's how I'm
Yeah, I don't think you guys want that too much. It's more comfortability for them. I usually try to make every bedroom 100 square feet at least. With some sort of storage closet, something like that. Other than that, the larger bedrooms, they can make double occupancy. But they'll tell me like how many they can put in each place, and like usually just one major living space. If there's a second one, I can turn those into bedrooms. Right. Adequate parking. So parking's a huge thing. I usually look for like corner lots. They don't like to park in front of neighbors' yards, or like in preference of being respectful to the neighbors. They won't be having cars all in their spaces as well. So sometimes if there's like a 3-car garage or something, so there's an extra driveway, there's extra parking there. They tend not to park in the garage. They need extra storage, so they'll use the garage for extra storage. But yeah, the corner lots are super.
I like the story where you said you were worried about your property, hadn't been in a while.
Oh, yeah.
And you thought you might want to go by and check on it.
Yeah, we got a couple stories, because there's 2 stories. The first story was one of the houses I hadn't visited for my first one. I didn't visit for a year. I was like, I probably should visit this thing. I don't know how they're taking care of my house or what, but I probably should stop by. And when I went over and stopped by the house, it was in better condition than when I left it. So I was like, oh, this is great. They're taking care of the yard. They planted some stuff in the yard. That particular house, they wanted to build a shed because they wanted some storage. And they asked me if I could. They could. It's like, sure, of course you can. Build a shed, increase my property value. I mean, go for it, so stuff like that. As far as, I think there was a question about like what kind of pushback you'll get from the neighbors sometimes. The second house I opened up, somebody got wind that we were turning the house into sober living. And while my contractors were digging out an egress window, there was 5 or 6 elderly folk that decided to descend upon my contractors. Be like, what do you think you're doing? And they were trespassing on the property because it was in the backyard. So they scared my contractors like, we don't know what to do. Like, these people are scary. What do we do? And they put it on their Facebook page, like and saying that this is what they're doing and all this stuff. And but Oxford House then stepped in and kind of relieved the neighbors of what was happening, and they've been great. The neighbors really enjoy having the women and children house there, and it's been good since.
So that leads to my next question. Would you give referrals to, potential, like if you bought a house and the neighbors got skeptical, would you jump in and help out with getting into that house?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're very well experienced in how to handle those kind of situations.
And secondly, I'm sure Jim probably has some properties that he's held on to for 10 years. Well, his cost of buying that house 10 years ago is different than today. How do you guys approach neighborhoods for houses that, have appreciated quite a bit of value and still try to make it work for everybody?
Yeah, I mean, so we'll just, every time that lease comes up, we can renegotiate and make sure we have the right cost for everybody involved.
Could you handle $5,000 lease versus a $3,000 lease?
That kind of jump would be very tough. And Vince and I were just talking about the likelihood of increasing a yearly amount when his lease is up for renewal. And that's definitely something we've done with several houses. Instead of asking for a $2,000 jump right off the bat, maybe this year we'll ask for that amount and then a percentage each year to get to that point where we can be asking for that much.
So is the tenants strictly rehab individuals or just any homeless thing?
Well, so everybody does need to be actively working their recovery.
Okay.
The model of Oxford is you grow or go, not stay and lay, right? And so every member of Oxford is going to be a person that is in recovery and working to better themselves. Absolutely, yeah, we have great connections with all of the treatment centers around the areas in each different region that we're in, which of course is the Fort Collins area, Denver, Springs, Pueblo, east of Pueblo, Western Slopes. We're really growing out towards Durango right now. Montrose area is really expanding really quickly right now. And so all of those areas, one of the first things we can do is create that partnership with the treatment facilities. And that's where a lot of the members are going to come from, have that safe space to live.
I have a cousin that's gone through drug rehab. She lives in Austin right now, and they pretty much, she grew up in Houston. That's where she kind of hit the wall.
Sure.
And they decided she needed to get away from Houston because that's
her
little community, right?
Yes.
Is that typically what you find is people need, if they're gonna do appropriate rehab, recovery, et cetera, they need to get away from the area that they.
For a lot of people, that does seem to be the case. But I like to remind myself that no matter where I go, I'm right there. And so it's very important that the mindset of the individual changes. And that's something that Oxford House helps with, right? Because there's 7 other individuals that have a varying amount of recovery time, they can start to be that peer support for the individual to see that change. This is why we have the surprising numbers that we do, is because of the structure and support that's right there. Instead of people going back to rehab time after time again, wondering when they're going to finally find sobriety, they now have that peer support 24/7 available to them in the house. And they start to see that success. And so that mindset can finally switch and we can finally start to grow instead of just.
Now, do they restrict cell phones or?
No.
Those away, or?
No, the only restriction will be obviously it's a sober living home. So if you have a guest that comes over to the house, they have to be sober. We can't have anybody that's under the influence or really even in active use coming over to the house. Otherwise, you can have 3 nights, once you're past your new members contracts you were talking about earlier, you can have 3 nights out of the house or with a guest in the house, as long as of course they're sober. The only exception with that is a mommy and me house or a daddy and me house, right? We're not going to allow overnight guests in the house. There's gonna be a restriction on sexual interactions in the house whatsoever to protect those children. But otherwise, it's very free. Yes.
Well, you mentioned UAs, so people are actively doing your.
Yes, sir.
Test and breathalyzers, and how are they getting to those? I mean, if they're.
That's purchased by the house.
Well, I mean, and are these people able to drive? I mean, a lot of people would get a DUI or something like that, and they may be, in an active recovery situation that still need to follow the guidelines of UA breathalyzers, things like that. How are they getting actually? Was that the transportation?
Exactly.
Okay, then
Yeah, we really needed to be close to public transportation because as it was mentioned, a lot of people in early recovery don't have a vehicle or they don't have a license available. They have restrictions, need to pay off a large fine, need to spend a couple years before they can even get the breathalyzer in the vehicle with them, There's a lot of people that aren't able to drive right when they first get in the house. And so for that reason, we do need it to be close to public transportation, close to employment opportunities, close to places where they have meetings. And so it does make a difference, but there are people that do have vehicles. To answer your question on UAs, typically we look towards we look for behaviors, right? We get to know individuals, our roommates, our family as they become, right? We get to know them, and when there's signs that things are going awry with them, we have that chance to pull them aside and say what's going on. And then obviously there is a random UA throughout the month, throughout the weeks. Different houses handle it differently, but there's for sure accountability to make sure that everybody in the house is safe from a person returning to use, because that can crumble anybody in recovery. Being around people is tough. So it's very important that we keep watching that. Yes, sir.
Is there a regression rate?
Yeah, let me see if I can find that statistic in here. I think it's actually on this page. So we're looking at 13.5%. This is according to the DePaul study, have relapsed. Yet that means that 80 some didn't, right? 86.5% stayed into long-term recovery. People have found that once they get into recovery, maybe they start working, they're making minimum wage, they begin to become more of an asset because of the structure that they're in. They get more money going forward. They are more than likely going to stop going back to prison. The amazing thing about Oxford House is it costs the government nothing to be able to see people recover. It's amazing. I absolutely love it. Here's some Colorado statistics. Kind of hard to read there, but for the last 2 years in Colorado, we have had an abstinence rate of 94.9%.
Wow.
Yeah, 5.1% of all members that have been accepted in Oxford House have left due to relapse. Yeah, isn't that great?
That is great.
That's great.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that is.
AA doesn't have those kind of numbers.
AA doesn't have those kind of numbers, right?
Well, most of the houses, and Vince, you probably have a handle on this. It sounds like if you're not in an HOA, you're probably going to be older houses, correct?
A lot of them are older houses.
Close, obviously, to major thoroughfares and, yeah.
So, I mean, I've talked to Mike for a minute. If you guys have anything more you'd like to share about your side of it.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at 1990 or earlier houses, most likely without HOAs, so. But the first one I did was a fix and flip that went kind of awry. The numbers didn't quite make sense. I was going to end up breaking even. It's like, do I want to sell this thing and just break even, or just hold on to this? So I decided to hold on to it and converted it to an Oxford House. So I tend to like using the burst strategy with these. I'll buy, rehab, and then refinance. Use my hard money, fix it up, and then refinance it. And then like the first house, I had literally I think I had $5,000 of my own cash into the property when I was all done. And then it was cash flowing $1,000 a month. So that's, cash on cash return, incredible. So I lost my train of thought again. It's been one of those nights.
You're too young for that.
All right, yeah, go ahead. If I can remember that.
I had just two fun facts that I had learned during this process, and one was, I renovate houses, right? So a lot of the houses that I buy, people leave stuff behind. So any people who renovate in here, they're always taking fridges. They like to have, 4 or 5 fridges. And so just because my white fridge, it doesn't work in a flip, it doesn't mean it's not gonna work for them. So think of these guys in those situations. And the
How do
other,
you let them know you have a fridge that needs to go away?
that's the best way. I contacted Michelle. So I mean, I
I have
can.
a fridge now that, needs to go.
I would love to have it, so I gotta coordinate my stuff to get up there too. And then the second thing is, they don't have renter's insurance, so for any of you first time people considering this, that was kind of a big thing for us. Was, oh shoot, they're not gonna have renter's insurance, how does that protect us, and what carriers? There's one carrier we looked at wouldn't cover the whole place if they were at fault, so there's plenty of carriers that do, but just something to keep in the back of your mind as you're structuring this deal.
That's scary.
I know State Farm does, I don't know who you use.
I use State Farm.
State Farm.
I understand.
Oh, okay.
Sure, probably.
Are there any disqualifiers on the house? Like no HOA, not next to,
You don't want to be on Colfax.
Yes.
yeah, we're not gonna be on Colfax.
I asked about Colfax. I know.
I mean, not next to a liquor store or dispensary or.
Yeah, so I mean, it's rare nowadays to find a neighborhood that doesn't have it or it's really. Yet. We do prefer to be separated from influences of that nature. Other than that, no, I mean, for the most part, not an HOA, that it just meets the requirements as was spoken, right? Six room for 6 occupants, a good sized living area, the 2,000 square feet, things like that. We wanted to not be on Colfax. We wanted to not be in the neighborhoods that are known for high crime and drug activity. It is nice, obviously, to have central air and heat. We do like to have that picture that I saw, that looked a lot like what Oxford houses typically look like. We try to furnish a very nice house. We look to buy things that are very upstate, very, very high quality. Yes, ma'am.
How many bathrooms are you looking for?
We're looking for one for every 2 or 3 members.
Okay, so 3 to 4.
Yes, sir.
Are there any restrictions on the type of mortgage, like a DSCR loan, that kind of stuff? So,
I have no restrictions. I'm perfectly fine with renting from you, however it is that you choose to purchase the house.
I have had clients that have asked, can they be living in the house as well? Or is that a no?
No, we would need it to be completely Oxford House members inside the house. There was a couple questions. Yes, sir.
How do you just handle meals?
Every member provides their own food.
What's that?
Every member provides their own food, their own meals.
That's why you need extra refrigerators.
Yeah,
That's why we need
more
Yeah,
refrigerator.
they're on separate spaces.
Yep.
So each member is cooking, so you have to like rotate using the kitchen, that's all.
Yeah, so I mean, it works out pretty well inside the houses to be able to rotate the kitchen. I mean, we have a pretty good communication that way. But every night, usually a member of the house will clean the kitchen. Then we'll have weekly chores set up for other areas of the house. But the kitchen, since it is used every day, multiple times a day, it's important that we're sweeping and mopping every day, wiping off counters every day, so we don't allow any kind of buildup of dirt and debris that can obviously lead to issues.
One follow, how did COVID impact any of this? Did you guys have?
We of course, yeah.
Situation? Sure you did.
Yeah, it's group living. So there were times that houses did have COVID end up running through the house, just like anytime the flu goes around, it'll run right through that house at times, you know. What we did is we stopped doing in-person meetings for a little while during COVID, right? We have a chapter meeting once a month, we have a state association meeting once every 2 months, and a house meeting every week. And so the house meeting would still happen in person, but every other meeting would happen over Zoom. We would begin having less interaction between houses, which hurt. It really did. Because part of the structure of Oxford is about unity. It's about building those boundaries with other people, seeing the networking that's available between everybody there. I was asked earlier about jobs for individuals that move into the house. One thing that's been very successful is that most members, when they move in, they find a job, it's an entry-level job, and they can network that to the other members. And so it's very rare that a house is not sound. Usually, especially in the Denver metro area, houses get full within a month, 2 weeks. Yes, sir.
So just explain the protected class to me. Is it federal? Is it state?
It is federal, I believe.
Can I throw something in? I have a client that has assisted living residences. I think you guys fall under the same sort of, I forget the HUD guidelines or whatever it is, but yeah.
Fair housing.
Yeah,
Fair housing. So yes, attics are considered protected class. And so the Fair Housing Act says that we are allowed to occupy a single family home and be able to operate it as such. Just recently in the city of Pueblo contacted us and said, you guys are zoned correctly. We're gonna need to get the fire department out. We're gonna need to get all these people out there really quick. And I was 2 weeks into my job. I said, hey boss, what do I? He's like, just calm down really quick. This is covered. I said, the Fair Housing Act? Yes, of course. And so our lawyers said, hey, here's the response. And they said, at this time, we don't feel like there's any concern, but we'll let you know.
Yeah.
You let me know.
No blocks already.
No block notice.
You said that they all provide for their own food. Has it happened where a bunch of them or the whole house gets together and cooks?
Always.
Always?
Yeah, most every night. Houses are cooking for each other and spending time around the dinner table.
You're a family in there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We become a family. Yes, sir.
Do you have like account managers? So for you as the homeowners, is it the same person you're contacting through Oxford Homes every time? Is it, how does that look?
So there's a point person in the house that usually is the one that contacts me. If there's a repair that needs to be made or anything that the house might potentially need, they're the ones that contact me. I don't usually talk to anybody else in the house.
Oh, so it's somebody from the house, not from Oxford?
Yeah, they live in the house.
Had a unique situation where the gentleman who was going to be the head house president, he took another job and decided not to oversee the house. And so then I was talking to the next line up. So like you were talking about the structure, like there's always someone to talk to, but they try to handle it at the lowest level.
And obviously there is some retention rate issues at times, right? And so at times you'll call the house up and that same person you've been communicating with is no longer there. But there is a house number that you can always get a hold of. If you can't get a hold of anybody in the house, then you reach out to chapter. You'll be able to have chapter number. As you were saying, there's multiple levels. You can always reach out to your outreach worker, and that may have been Bob. Yeah. Bob took another job. He was the Denver area and then Fort Collins and Northern Colorado area outreach worker. He went ahead and moved on to another company. And so, however, when Bob's not available, Taylor is, Michelle is, Moriah is. There's 10 of us in Colorado that are specifically outreach workers. But you can always, as Vince said, get a hold of the house.
How many houses are you looking for?
There's not a number at this point. And yeah, as many as we can get, there's a demand.
There's that much demand.
There's that much demand. Yes, ma'am.
Because you get personalities may clash.
Yeah.
It may be where everybody gets along except one. How do you handle that?
So the democratic process kind of takes over. We set out the guidelines ahead of time. And then if someone is causing disruptive behavior, right, causing disunity in the house or presenting to be in relapse behavior, then the house will sit down and have a conversation with them. And maybe even write out a disruptive behavior contract saying you're presenting these issues. We need you to correct these issues in this amount of time by doing these steps. And if you don't, then you would be asked to leave. That would be a cause to be asked to leave. One thing that's interesting about the members of Oxford is we are members, we pay EES, we don't have renter credits. So if I were to have used, then 15 minutes later, I'm asked to be out of that house. And I can come back within the next 72 hours to do my stuff. If let's say that I haven't kept my financial agreement up, then they'll probably give me 24 hours to move. But there's no need for an eviction. That won't happen. You would be evicting Oxford House if you're evicting it. And instead, Oxford House is gonna handle their business and they're gonna empty that house out if that's what needs to happen and fill it with other people. With the first person to move in the house is always going to be a trained member of Oxford, someone that's been in Oxford for 6 months, 2 years. That knows the Oxford model, that can teach the Oxford model to anybody else that moves in. So you're not at the risk of a house opening up and you just have brand new people that are trying to figure this out. No, we're gonna have people that know what they're doing. Yes, ma'am.
Dogs or cats, those cats.
You know, we do leave that up with the communication with the landlord. Have you guys had any?
We had one ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the houses I had asked if one of the tenants, if I would allow a pet, and I was reluctant, but if it was small enough, I'd be okay with it, but they kind of dealt with it on their own and came to the agreement as a house that they didn't want the pet in the house, so they ended up not putting the pet in there, so I've never had a pet in the house.
So if that were the case, would Oxford House pay extra for pets in the house?
Like the pet, like pet rent?
Yeah.
Haven't gotten to that point, but if anybody was there on Saturday about some of the legislation coming down the pike, Oxford House I'm not worried about it.
The whole pet thing's coming to a big change. You gotta look at this new law.
Yeah, so a lot of the, like the rent control, all the different things that are trying to pass, I'm not too worried about it as a landlord to Oxford House. I would be as a traditional landlord, I would definitely be concerned. Some of these laws that are trying to pass, but I don't think Oxford House doesn't really fall into any of those.
Basically, I think what the new pet law is, you can have unlimited number of pets. And if they do damage, the most you can get back for $1,000. So if they destroy your carpet, chew up the walls, $1,000. They can have 8 dogs, or I don't think they specify what kind of pet either. Miniature horse could be in there. Giraffe. People have miniature horses, y'all laugh.
Wolverine.
Pigs.
Jenny.
I digress.
If you structure your lease with Oxford House, no pets,
Yeah, you'd be able to structure the lease that way.
They have to ask, right? That's
Yeah,
within the
yes.
lease, is they have to ask you
Yeah.
as a landlord before, and if you say no, you say no.
Yeah, you could definitely say no.
So it's already in.
Yeah, it's already structured in the
Yeah.
lease. I brought with me a single copy of the landlord packet that I typically will hand out to landlords that are potentially looking to invest. And it shows in there what a typical lease will look like with Oxford House, and I can email this out to anybody that would like to read it. No problem at all. I did shout out my number if anybody wrote it down, shoot me a text. No,
Can we text you our email address?
perfect.
well, what's your email?
Yeah.
My email is Moriah.Cunningham. That's MORIAH. Period CUNNINGHAM at oxfordhouse.org.
Cunningham, HAM,
HAM, yes, sir.
Oxford House.
Dot
Single.
.org.
Sounds like community of
Oxford.
Oxford.
Oxford
House.
House. Yes, sir.
You don't have to really worry about all these questions that people are asking, like, you know, what happens if there's a fight in the house, or what happens? It's like, you don't really care, you're getting your rent, your house isn't, like,
Yeah,
it's
so
being
this
destroyed, but.
This presentation was, it was interesting, but I didn't realize they were doing all that, so. As a landlord, I'm really hands off as far as what I need to do as a landlord. I just need to cash the check and make a few repairs here and there. And sometimes make a decision if need be, but I mean, I have traditional rentals as well. And I'm selling them right now, so I could buy more Oxford houses. I mean, it's a really good model.
Easy self-management as well.
Yes. Yeah, they self-manage themselves and it's super easy.
They, a warranty on your lease, that if there's a problem.
Like a home warranty? No, I don't have a home warranty.
You do a security
Sorry,
deposit?
So typically what we're looking for is no security deposit. Just because the cost of that going forward, we do have some that require a security deposit, and we'll still work with them, but that's very rare. We usually are looking for 1 or 2 months, the first month free for that lease, without a security deposit, the second month, maybe second, third, and fourth, so I'm probably gonna ask for half off. So that we can not set up the house for bid. As it's starting to get filled up with members, we're not gonna have the right amount of income right off the bat. So instead of breaking our relationship right off the bat, if you guys can give us the leeway of those first few months, then going forward beyond that, you're always gonna have your rent on time. You're gonna have that simple passive income coming in every month.
But what's typically the leases, so that doesn't expand from a couple months to some months?
I didn't hear you.
It's laid out, how much they'll pay the second month, how much they'll pay
It's in the lease.
the third month. It's written out in your contract together.
Now you've got 3-year leases. What, if you were a landlord, what would you expect the occupants, I mean, how long would this go on?
I mean, we have houses in the East Coast that have been open for 30 years.
Okay, so it's something, if it's working, you're not gonna say,
We're
no,
not gonna ask them to go. So I've got a letter in here that I got to read probably for the first time today. I should probably read my material more. No. So over the park, Kansas, right? He said, to whom it may concern, I'm a property manager in the Kansas City area. I've had the pleasure of renting Oxford houses for the past 5 years. In my opinion, from a renter property perspective, a group Oxford men or women are perhaps the best tenants you can ever have. And here are the reasons why. They never miss a rent payment. This is one concern you will not have if you own or lease/rent an Oxford house. 2, maintenance of property. Each Oxford house I have the pleasure of working with will always maintain the property with great respect and pride. I have yet to walk into an Oxford house that was not clean and tidy. Additionally, the lawn and grounds are always properly maintained. Always occupied. As an owner or property manager, you never have to worry about the issues such as vacancy loss, utilities not on, damage during vacancy periods. 4, giving back to the community. There is a great need for community members to reassimilate back into a normal routine. The Oxford House concept provides this exact opportunity for individuals to reestablish their lives in a safe and friendly, structured, drug-free environment. And he said, if you'd like to contact him, you can call him. His name is Jake. I can give you his number. No, so yeah, it seems to be, in fact, my first investment, whenever it happens to be that I finally got the money up, that I can contact this guy and he can loan me some money, right? Will be an Oxford house. Because I know the benefit that Oxford has given me and those around me. And I also see the investment value of it. And so it's a win-win. There's a company I just got the chance to talk with. They rent out a few houses in Pueblo area. And they have a renter management company that Oxford is all they deal with. And they got together a group of investors and they began investing in Oxford. And it's a win-win all day for them. It's a great model. I'm happy, very, very happy to get to be part of it. Yes, sir.
2 questions. Age ranges up, lower, what's kind of the minimum age?
So the minimum age would be 18 unless the court has decided that that person is an adult. Otherwise, there's no maximum age. No, so we are not going to be able to be an assisted living house for someone. If someone is in need of nurse aides or whatnot to come into the house, well, then sure, they can arrange that. They can be voted in as a member on that behalf and then arrange for assisted living of that nature. But sometimes people are not fit for Oxford, and that might be one of the instances. My 98-year-old grandmother probably wouldn't do well in an Oxford house. Instead, I'll let her stay with my mom.
I mean, people get, wheelchair,
Yep.
certain handicaps.
Yes, we don't have too many ADA houses at the moment, but that is something we are interested in. But yes, anybody that is able to, no problem at all. Yes, ma'am. Oxford House is a great supporter of the LGBTQ plus community. No problem at all.
But are there certain areas up and down the Front Range counties where you just say the rules or regulations or the
No, so that
city or just we're gonna avoid that?
there's not a single city in the United States that we have any issue with opening up a house in because of that protective act that we were just talking about.
but that doesn't preclude you from from dealing with the issues that an HOA would rise?
Yeah, I mean, we could potentially make that case, but there's no point in fighting that battle. We'll pick our battles if that's not one of them.
So I was looking to open an Oxford House in Cleveland, so I reached out to somebody in Ohio. And they currently don't have any boots on the ground in Cleveland. They are in the future, but right now they weren't particularly looking for a house in that area, so I'm just kind of waiting for that area. But they could do it anywhere, just where they want to utilize the resources.
Yeah, that's very accurate. Can I ask, when was that conversation with Ohio? Okay. Yeah,
They open up.
yeah. That's right.
That's his first investment. Yeah, so you got good news that Al got his first bad news, which is good news for him. With the SVB, finally has something to get mad about.
The rain, yeah.
Right.
Don't get out started. Don't get out started.
Outside of the US, what other countries are you in?
Oh, that's a great question. So we were in New Zealand, Ghana, Canada, and England, I believe.
Nothing in, you said Canada, nothing in Mexico.
Not just yet.
I'm originally from Montreal, Canada. Are there any restrictions to like the language there with Oxford, French?
You know, I'm not sure on the answer to that question. I wish I knew more.
They don't let people speak French, so they.
Yes, I
understand. That's kind of one of those things. That's right.
What do you think, Garrett?
I have a question now. Oh, I know. Do you have a list of desirable areas that you're looking at?
I can definitely give you a list. So I know a little bit more about the SoCo area where I'm stationed. I know some about the other areas, but that's the beauty of having coworkers that are stationed in different areas. And so I can get you in contact with any of those outreach workers from those areas, or simply just get you a list of where the biggest need is. I can say Montrose and La Junta area right now are the biggest needs that I'm aware of. And of course, Denver is always. And as Vince mentioned, this is not a Colorado thing, right? There's many countries. Often I have people ask me, who can I get in contact with in the Cleveland, Ohio area? And so I get to reach out the branches and find out who that is. And yeah, most of the landlords in this area are not from this. Some of them are, which is great because an absentee landlord still works. Maybe that's not an appropriate term, but someone that's not living in this town, I'm a renter. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a member. So any other questions, guys?
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for letting me come.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you. You know, we record all these sessions, and somebody said earlier about hey, all the slides will be on their website. They will be on our website. Normally what I do is I just kind of do like a introduction type of thing. I don't normally share a full presentation, but I believe in these guys so much that yeah, I'm gonna put the whole presentation up on the website. So, let me catch up here. Because I believe in these guys. Like I say, when Vince did that clubhouse chat with us, and we talked about this, and I got to discover a little bit more about it. It's like, you know, real estate investors, we usually get beat up in the press. They think we're all just sorry, like people trying to rip people off, trying to make money. But guess what? With the Oxford House, we can invest and we can make money, but at the same time, we can help people that need that second start. So in my goal, when I heard this last year, is like, I really want to make a goal for 2023 to be a part of an Oxford House. As we go around touring houses and invest success, Tim's already caught on. But I'm like, man, this basement, it could be 3 bedrooms. I could do an Oxford House. He's like, shut up, Jim. Shut up, Jim. Like, no, it's real, man. But I thank you guys for coming. Thank you for Vince for kind of lighting the fire for me. And Nicole, keep me updated. Okay, let's move forward. We're not done yet. We got real cash flow. Who knows cash flow? It's monopoly on steroids.
Yes.
We usually meet right back in that corner or this corner, usually in here. We play. I just bought brand new games. Come on the 23rd and help me break my new games in. The thing is, if you're gonna do an electrical, you really need, I hate to say this, an iPhone. The game doesn't like Android. I usually carry an extra iPad and stuff like that. It's free. You don't have to register. Everybody, it's free. We meet back there. It's a whole lot less informal. We cut up. We have fun. Brent's been here a couple of times. Jim's been here. 2 others. That's coming up. Sacking. Who knows about sacking? This guy right here, in less than 5 years, under Vince's tutelage, invested in house hacking, and in 5 years, he equaled his W-2 income with passive income through house hacking. Look at him, he's a young guy. When him and his girlfriend started with Invest Success, he said he didn't own a hammer, he didn't know how to change out a doorknob, and he's tearing out walls. And he's going to be here. This is a great guy. Come here Tuesday, April the 10th, and listen to our friend Jeffrey White talk about house hacking. Who knows Pine Financial? I know Howie's like, oh man, I can't escape this guy. Kevin's going to be here. I'll throw this flag out for Pine. When I first moved here in 2009, and I started getting into investing in 2011, 2012, these guys used to have monthly meetups. Now they cut back to a quarter. And they used to have one down south, one up north. I never missed a meeting. I got a ton of education from them. And Kevin, my friend's going to be here in May and talk about the power of private lending. They got this little fund going on that you can beat the bank. You can get great returns helping fund fix and flippers. Anything to add to that, Howie? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, nailed it right on the head, but
You didn't want to say something like this, like Justin, you gotta talk to Kevin. So finally I said, Kevin, you gotta come. Nobody will talk about it. Kevin's gonna be here. He just did a clubhouse with us too. Nicole knows this guy, and Shane knows this guy. Buddy Joe Screese all the way from Philly will be here in June. And for all you agents, if you come, you get CD credits free from Rick. But he'll be here talking about different ways to get money to do your flips. He's an awesome guy. I can't believe we did this, but Tim called me on like a Wednesday or a Thursday. He's like, let's go to Kansas City. Joe's going to be over there. I'm like, yeah, all right, sure. It's a 9-hour drive. We drove it all night. Got there. We like, can we park our car? We can't check in. Can we use the bathroom, change clothes, spit you up? We went and hung out with Joe all day. He will be here in June. And also in coming up in March, end of the month. Shane, you going? Philly? Oh yeah. Shane's gonna be going to Philly 411. We're gonna be going over there. It's gonna be a great group. And we're also talking with Shane and a group called Realty 411 about bringing this big nationwide group to Denver. Coming up probably, what did we say, next year, Shane? Maybe fall. And Shane also has got a group coming up in May. You want to talk about that?
yeah, we had in-person mastermind, Jade, and some of there last time. So there'll be an evening event on Sunday that you can just drop into. Bear in mind, we're not a facility, so it's not that you can come by this kind of based on everything, and then you can do participation all 4 days. We just have to figure out our math is, because right now math is built to people that come in on Airbnb. So we'll know that. They'll know that. But what we do is we do coordinate that. It's easier to do with John Fisher than with Rig, so that we're there week with John Fisher. So the last time we came in November, we were more than half the room. That wasn't just my people that flew in. I also had some friends that came in and met with us, people from different parts of Colorado. So we will, that John Fisher Saturday, we'll have a lot of out-of-state investors. If you're trying to make some stuff out of state, if you're trying to do some different things, like this Oxford house angle, there's a lot of different things. Anything that's interesting in tech-wise, we'll have a lot of tech-savvy people there. This is a particular program, so that'll happen. So check out John Fisher that particular Saturday for sure.
You want to get tickets early, because we do have a limit down there. Although I think by then we're gonna be, yeah, we'll be in the new place. We can get a few more seats.
Where are you going?
John Fisher is, Breakfast Club Dazzle is moving basically around according to the theater district. What used to be, I think, a nightclub over there on,
14th and Raffle.
14th and Rapido. That's gonna be the new Dazzle. And if you've never been to Dazzle, you guys need to go.
Well, they're moving?
Yeah, Dazzle's moving, and we're gonna stick with it, because Matt and that crew really treats us like VIPs. And we love Dazzle, so we're gonna do that. So if you haven't followed Shane on, you heard me talking about Clubhouse early, you need to join the Creative Burst Strategies. And Shane is a master admin there, and they've got a lot of pop-ups during the week. I told you there was a lot of good valuable education and networking there. And speaking of network, guess what? We're in the brewery, they're open late. They usually don't kick me and JH out about 10:30, so hang out. The parking lot is still warm. We can talk out there too. Thank you for coming. And I wasn't going to do this, but you know what? They got a lot of new first timers. The last month I did this. If anybody should choose to join, I'll give you 10% off tonight. Other than that, thank you for coming. We love you. See you next month. Thank you.
All right.